This is the updated Haval H6 GT, a coupe-styled SUV, and this is the new plug-in hybrid version, which apparently has over 1,000 kilometres of driving range and 180 kilometres of EV driving range. So already there are some things I do like about this and some things that I don't. And I'm going to tell you whether or not that if you should buy one. And of course, if you are new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe and hit that bell. But for now, let's get straight into the review. Right, before we start, what are some of the key things that you need to know before you walk into a showroom? Well, this is the type of vehicle that competes with the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV and the JAC J7 SHS. And when it comes to the model range, there are two different versions to pick from between normal petrol and this PHEV version. And finally, when it comes to the ownership, everything you need to know about servicing, warranty and running costs, all the key facts are on your screen right now. And if we now move on to the styling, on the front section, this comes with full LED headlights with LED DRLs, automatic high beam and LED fog lights integrated within this sporty looking bumper bar trim, and gloss black surrounding these open air vents. And finally, fake carbon trim on the bottom section that also extends onto the boot lid. And if we now move on to the side view, this model grade receives 19-inch gloss black alloy wheels that are wrapped around in Michelin tyres and complemented by the red painted brake calipers. There's also body cladding across the wheel arch trim and on that lower section. And looking further down the side, black mirror caps with black window trim surrounds. And there's also a weird looking design trim element over by the rear door, black roof rails and privacy glass from B-pillar all the way to the end. And finally, a panoramic glass sunroof that opens and closes. And if we now move on to the rear design, at the back, as part of the 2025 update, the taillights are now clear, opposed to them being red. And they've also changed the Haval badging to GWM, and that is all finished off in matte black, opposed to the chrome. There's also a roof-mounted spoiler on the top section, body cladding down on the lower section. And I think from this angle, this does look pretty good. Yes, it's definitely not the most modern looking SUV out there, but at this price range, it does still offer some style. But as always, styling is subjective, so write down what you think in the comments down below. And if we now move on to the interior, this comes with a remote key, keyless entry and push power ignition. And if we start off with presentation, inside nothing has changed for 2025, so it still looks and feels very sporty. And there are also some nice touches like ambient lighting, this fake carbon fibre material that also extends onto the doors, and that is also complemented by the synthetic suede that also extends over in the centre and on the seat trim. But whilst the top of the dashboard feels nice and soft and even on top of the door trim, when you look lower down, you do come across some hard and scratchy materials, and even on the bottom surface over here, and even in the center console. And the steering wheel also feels very odd to grip onto. But in terms of comfort features, you get dual zone climate control integrated within the infotainment with some physical buttons down the bottom here. The seats are finished off in synthetic leather, but they don't feel all that comfortable to sit in. But you do get seat heating and ventilation, 4-way electric adjustment for the passenger side, and 8-way power adjustment for the driver with lumbar support. And finally, the steering column offers both manual tilt and reach adjustment, and the steering wheel can also be heated. And if we now move on to infotainment, it all runs off this 12.3-inch touchscreen, which does take some time getting used to first go, and it does come across a little bit laggy, but you do have some physical buttons on the steering wheel. And in terms of key features, you've got voice recognition, you get an 8-speaker sound system with AM, FM, USB, Bluetooth, and when it comes to smartphone integration, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wired. And if I slide this section down, this will bring up all of the car's functions like your steering mode between comfort, sport and light. And there are also various selectable driving modes and power modes. Next, if we now move on to safety, this comes with a 360-degree camera system with multi-angle views, and there are also front and rear parking sensors, a rear cross traffic alert, an auto-dimming rear view mirror, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring with a lane departure warning and a lane keeping assistant, adaptive cruise control with stop and go function, speed sign recognition, and a driver fatigue monitoring system. There's also a screen ahead of the driver that shows you all of your vital information, and it is slightly configurable. And there's also a heads up display, which again shows you all of your vital information. And finally, for storage, you've got a sunglasses holder up the top here with vanity mirrors behind the sun visors. There's also additional storage down the bottom here with a 12-volt socket and 2 USB-A charging ports. A glove box down in the center that goes down pretty far deep, a wireless phone charging pad over in the center with 2 adjustable cup holders and a storage section for your phone. You also get a decent sized glove box, and finally on the doors, decent door bin storage for a small bottle of water. And if we now move on to the back seats, this front row seat is set in my position, and I've got plenty of knee room, toe room, and good headroom, because the slopey roofline starts from around here, and that is pretty good considering that there is a pano sunroof. And in the middle seat, again, good headroom, knee room, and toe room. Now, moving on to other key features, we've got map pockets behind the front row seats, directional air vents with 2 USB-A charging ports, small bottle storage on the doors, and grab handles up the top here with LED lighting and a coat hook hanger. There's also a flip down armrest with 2 small cup holders, and finally, for child seats, the 2 outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me, 3 top tether points. And if we now move on to boot space, all model grades feature a power tailgate as standard, and in terms of what you can fit back here, there is enough room for all your shopping bags, school bags, 2 carry-on suitcases, or even a single large suitcase. And you can also drop down the second row seats if you need to. And for all the key specifications about boot volume, everything you need to know is on your screen right now. And in addition to that, there are also cutaway sections on either side, shopping bag hook on the right hand side, and a 12-volt socket with an LED light. You also get a flat load bay as well, so it's nice and easy to throw things into the boot. And underneath here, you'll find storage cutaways for charging cables and the location for the tyre repair kit. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So under the bonnet features a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, which produces combined outputs of 321 kilowatts and 762 newton meters of torque, and 0 to 100 is in 4.9 seconds, and this is also linked to a 2-speed hybrid transmission and all-wheel drive. On the right hand side is where you are going to find AC and DC charging, powering up that 35.4 kilowatt hour battery that offers an electric only range from up to 180 kilometers. And on the left hand side is your fuel filler cap, and you can also run this with 91 RON petrol. Right, moving on to driving impressions. Over the bonnet there's great forward visibility, and you also sit nice and high up, giving you a good driving position. There's also good side vision, decent sized wing mirrors, and at the back, rear visibility is actually pretty good for this type of shape. And in terms of controls, there's a gear selected dial along with your electronic handbrake, but the steering wheel is very thin and very uncomfortable to hold. So yeah, driving it, cornering, it's not really good. But then again, compared to the standard petrol version, if you put your foot down, the throttle response is pretty impressive. But when you put your foot on the brake pedal, not only it feels very spongy, I do think the brakes could have been a bit bigger, or at least ventilated, because it doesn't really stop all that well. And I think if you're going to put all this power in a car, make sure you upgrade the brake size. Now moving on to refinement, it seems to soak up bumps really well. It is a lot more heavier compared to the standard version, but it seems to be okay for the price point. It's not uncomfortable. And when you are driving only using the battery, the car is very quiet. You get a little bit of whine from the electric motors, but overall the car is pretty quiet inside. You do also have customizable drive modes, so you can customize the car on how you want it to perform, even right down to EV driving and regen braking. Now moving on to driver assistance, apart from speed sign recognition, nothing really comes across annoying, but setting the adaptive cruise control, that can take some time getting used to, and it doesn't always set sometimes. Now, in terms of fuel consumption, I've driven this from Kirribilli to the Southern Highlands only using the battery pack, and I thought that was pretty impressive. I haven't charged it, so right now I am using the petrol engine, but I've got to say it is still pretty impressive when it comes to fuel consumption. And on your screen now are all the key figures about what this car is able to achieve and what I achieved. So yeah, pretty good figures from that perspective. So with my driving impressions out of the way, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So then, what is my final verdict on the Haval H6 GT PHEV? Well, I think overall this is a very good effort when it comes to driving range and the price point, but in terms of cabin quality and the driving capabilities, it's not really quite there yet. But tell me what you think in the comments down below. Would you go for this or something else? And if you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, write down your feedback of what you thought of the review. And of course, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.